All right, what's happening, everybody? My first guitar build video. I built a kit like, maybe 6 years ago. It came out pretty good. I still actually play it, but I kind of, once you start building them, you want to do more and you want to do better and better and better. So this is not, hey, I made a guitar out of hot dog rolls and paper clips video. I made a guitar out of a kit. This was, I think, the third kit that I did. When you buy the kits, for me, it was important for me to have good quality stuff. If I'm going to go through this much effort to make the guitar look and feel this good, I want good quality stuff. So that's a Goto tailpiece with the micro tuners. That's a Nashville bridge. Those are the Lumitones. I got really lucky on the color. I had already done this color and I was going to do black pickup rings, but I got real lucky and found something that just really accented the color of the body, so got kind of lucky there. They're all Switchcraft switches. I do like the contrast with the green inlays. The tuners are Wilkinson tuners. It costs a little bit less money than the Schallers, but in my opinion, they're every bit as good, if not better, than the Schallers. So I love the tuners. You can get different ratios, different shapes on them, all kinds of different stuff on there. Check them out. They make good stuff. I have guitars over there that have all Wilkinson products on them, and I've never had a Wilkinson product that I'm not happy with. This is not a sponsored video, by the way. I just think their products are really good. Their prices are reasonable. If you're going to buy a kit and you're going to start throwing hardware away, consider Wilkinson. I really like the Lumitones, and I wanted the look of that Nashville bridge. I honestly don't even use the micro tuners. I just use the regular tuning keys, but I like the look of it. So, it was like $30. It was well worth it. So after you build yourself a couple of kits, I knocked that guitar over once and dinged the neck, so I'm careful with it. So after you go through the kit building stage, you always want something better, something that you can't find in a kit. You ultimately wind up just making guitars out of raw wood, which this one was all raw wood. Mahogany body, maple neck. Again with the Wilkinson tuners. I forget who makes the locking. Oh, that's a Schaller. That came with that Schaller bridge there. Very expensive bridge, but I had originally routed this body for a Floyd Rose that I had, laying around that I was planning to use, but I was reading about the Schallers online, and this is an amazing quality bridge. This guitar has no tuning stability issues whatsoever. These are like they're not even tight. They rattle. Because I don't even have these tightened down because it's so stable without even locking the nut down. The inlays, I'm not going to take credit for cutting the inlays themselves. I did cut the African rosewood. I went to a hardwood lumber dealer and I picked up some lumber. Enough probably for 3 guitars. And I kind of picked and chose what I wanted for this build. But these, I'm not going to take credit for these. I did have to cut the fretboard to take these, but I didn't cut these. I bought a bag of them off of Amazon for like $14, and I've used it on 2 different guitars now. So they're both PRS type guitars, so the birds are appropriate, if not completely honest. So I was checking out some guitars online, and I came across a guitar that I have not seen in years and years and years. It's called a Rick Turner. It's the same guitar that Lindsey Buckingham plays. Here's a here's a drawing of it. So hopefully that looks familiar to you guys. So I got some pictures of them. It's very hard to find any information on these guitars. For example, I got no idea how they got that switch in there. None whatsoever. This guitar is a sandwich body guitar. The front has a 25-inch radius. The back has a 25-inch radius. And they sandwich the two of them together. Before they do that, they do all the routing that they need for the wires. But I don't have enough depth to route a channel deep enough for me to get this switch. This is going to be a blend switch that's going to blend a piezo bridge with a humbucker. So I still have yet to figure that out. There's other lines on here that are just helping me figure out where the guitar body is going to angle. You know, it's radius this way, but I'm going to need some other shaping done to allow for this build to be a neck through. So I have not seen a neck through on a Rick Turner, but I'm curious to see how stable it is, see if I like it better than a tenon neck or a bolt-on neck. Honestly, I see a lot of people, arguing about, is a bolt-on better than a glue-in, and I don't see it. I don't see any difference. Almost lost one there. I don't see any difference between the bolt-on and the glue-in at all. I think one is just as good as the other one. But this is some of the maple that I got. This is just 1x3 maple that I got. So I put 3 of them together. See it on the edge there. I clamped them, I glued them. I squared everything up. You can see there's a couple places where there's a dowel that goes all the way through, and those were just like kind of alignment dowels. I could have used a drywall screw if I wanted to, but I had a dowel laying around. I didn't have any drywall screws long enough. So I used some alignment screws before I glued these and clamped them together. But where I'm at on this build right now is here's the neck through, right? And I've already established the back angle. If you're going to do a neck through, you can either cut the neck at a back angle, which is a long cut, and it's going to limit depending on the size of the piece of wood that you got. If I did a back angle on the neck, all the way down the length of the neck, then by the time I got to the headstock, I would have less meat down here to angle this headstock where I want it. I want to do like maybe 10-degree back angle on the headstock. I think the further back you tilt them, the more tuning stability you're going to have. So most I've ever done before is like 7 degrees. I think I got one that maybe I think I did it. I think I cut it at 7, but by the time I got done planing it, it was probably like 8 degrees, and that's a very stable guitar. So I think the further back I tilt, the more tuning stability I get out of it. So I'm going to try for as much as 10 degrees on this one. So in order to preserve this and prevent me from having to do a really long cut along the length of the neck, I put a back angle on the body. Now the body actually comes to here, but the angle, here's the angle. Here's where the angle cut ends. So I'll show you from the side. So there's my angle cut right there. So this line right here is where the bridge is going to be. So I didn't measure an angle. I didn't go, oh, 2 degrees or 3 degrees. I didn't do that. I figured out where the bridge is going to be, the height of the bridge. I put a mark. I compensated the thickness of the fretboard. And now when you put the fretboard so that is exactly the right space. I hate when I see guitars that have a bridge that's sitting up here. You know, the posts are an inch off the body. That just looks like, it looks very unstable to me. It looks like they didn't calculate accurately for that. I prefer my bridges to be sitting almost right on the body. That guy's got maybe 1.5 millimeters of adjustment in there, which is about where I want it. So I never want to go, I don't want to leave myself too much room in there, because the more space that you adjust that bridge upward, the more that thing rattles around, the more potential movement you're going to have out of it. The Floyd, kind of the same thing. I'm sorry, I said Floyd. I should have said Schaller. So the plate on there should be sitting. Remember, it's a floating plate, right? So it should be sitting as though it's bolted right down to the body of the guitar. So the height on this one came out just perfect. I'm very happy with that. But if you're building a guitar, that's certainly worth spending the extra time to get that exactly right. The last thing you want is for your bridge to not go down far enough that you can't adjust your action where you want, or for your bridge to be adjusted so high that you have no stability in the bridge. So that happens very early on in the design process here. So a couple more things I've drawn out on here just for reference for me. I've drawn out the bridge. I've drawn out the cutout where the humbucker is going to go. The bridge is going to be the piezo bridge, and it's going to have that blend knob on it. And I haven't figured that out yet. There's a couple things I haven't figured out yet, but this is where we're at so far on this. I've gotten to that stage, and I needed to have a fretboard, because I want to start figuring out exactly where the fretboard is going to be. With the 12-inch radius on the fretboard, exactly what is my height going to be, you know, depending on what frets I use. I'm going to go with a 0 fret on this one so that I don't have to play around with a nut. The 0 fret is the lowest you're ever going to get your action. If the 0 fret is, I don't know if you can see it, this was the first one that I did. This was a nice piece of walnut that I happened to pick up. I think I got it at Hobby Lobby, but I laid this fretboard out, and I plan on using a 0 fret on this. You can never adjust a bone nut lower than a 0 fret. And if you're like me and you want your action to be as low as you can possibly get it, then you want a 0 fret. I have, on almost every guitar I've ever built, I've always had to do the nut twice. I use the feeler gauges. I measure everything. I check how, I can only go so far with the feeler gauges. Okay, this is where it's supposed to be. Now, where do I like it to be? And I always push the boundary of it too far. And I wind up taking one pass too many with that file. And I bottom out on a B string or on a G string. And I get buzzed and I have to take the nut off and start all over again. And, it's a tedious process, right? Uh, I will never be able to adjust a bone nut lower than a 0 fret, because a 0 fret is just another fret. So when you push a string down, the clearance that you get to the next fret is it. That's it. You're never going to get any lower than that. So I thought I'd go with the 0 fret on this neck through. The turners are not neck throughs, by the way, so there's some challenges that I'm going to have where the body is going to stick up higher. It's going to do one of those jobs there. So that body line has to be contoured to the fretboard, right? So some compound angles going on here on the body. This was the first one here. I laid this guy out. I got it all marked out, and I was going to start cutting this. This is a 24.5-inch scale length, but I thought the turners are a 24.5-inch, 24 fret guitar, and if it's a 24 fret guitar, I'd rather have the 25.5-inch scale length. So I got this other nice piece of walnut here. It's not really showing up that great, but this is a beautiful piece of walnut here. So I did a second fretboard for this guitar, which changes the scale length by about 3/4 of an inch, but I got plenty here. So the next thing I do, I think, is going to be to shape the body. So I'll come back with a video after that. I'm not going to do a video of me, cutting and filing and sanding. I'm just going to come back and do a check-in with, this is where I'm at, this is what I got done, this is how I figured it out. So a lot of this is like, how are we going to figure it out on the fly? There are some things that I still have not figured out yet. I got no idea how this whole thing works here with a humbucker in it. If you look at the pictures of it online, it looks like an acoustic guitar because this is all black, but it's got a humbucker floating in the middle, and that humbucker rotates. So you can turn it like an EVH pickup if you want to have that angle. I don't know if I'm going to do a hot rail or a 6-point humbucker. I don't know about any of that yet. I don't know how I'm going to work out the mechanics of this. This one's got me baffled. I don't know how they get that knob in there. There's no information online about how they do that. The only way that I can imagine is that they router the back of the guitar and they set that knob in there before they sandwich the front together. That's the only way I can figure it out, but there's no way that they're doing it like that. It just is counterproductive, right? You'd have to protect that while you're finishing the guitar. So there's no way that they're doing that. So I haven't figured that part out yet. So those are things that I'll figure out along the way. So hope you guys hang with me during this build. Peace.